Let's talk about courage today. And courage is a big issue for us women, especially, in our 40s, 50s, and 60s. There's a big need for courage. And that's what we're going to talk about today. My name is Janet. Welcome to the Second Act Collective. And there's so much to be said about this topic. But I just want to say no courage required. To start a thing, to end a thing, to begin again and again, no courage is required. That's the first thing I just want to put out there as you're listening to me, is that you are not required to have courage to do what you need to do. So when we wait for courage, a lot of, I think, misunderstanding about courage is that we think courage is something we have to wait for us to do something, right? We feel like I'll do this when I feel braver than I am. When I feel brave, I'll do this. I'll give an example. So for me, the commitment that I've made this year is that I'm going to be on YouTube and I'm going to do as many videos daily if possible as I can. And I can tell you, I struggled with that for like a year to do this because I just felt like I didn't have the courage. And I wanted to build up the courage to do it. And, so if you're waiting for that feeling of courage, of feeling like, oh yeah, now I can do it, it's most of the time never comes, really. So courage is not a feeling that you wait for to appear so you can then take action. Courage actually comes because you have taken the action. I've realized the more videos I've done, the more honestly I'm like, I can do this. Are they perfect? Sometimes the sound is horrible. I'm just uploading every day because I made that commitment, and the courage was in me making the commitment. And now the courage is me doing it every day and posting it, no matter what it might sound like, no matter what it might look like. Just the fact that I'm trying to build a muscle in myself, right? So you might be waiting and saying, I won't start the business until I have courage, until this or until that. The way to gain the courage is to actually to start. So courage and confidence go together. Again, confidence, there is a myth that I'm going to grow confident before you do something. When self-confidence is a byproduct of you doing something. It is not something that happens before, right? So you get the confidence after you've taken the step, and you're building up your courage, you're building up your confidence. And I don't know, because we women, when I say we, I mean, I'm referring to us women at this age, at this chapter in our lives. There are all these things, these myths that we have in our heads. And trust me, I have gone through that. I go through it. So, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, if anything, at myself, because I've gone through this where, you feel like you need to gain some confidence for you to go after this thing. You need to gain some confidence. And it doesn't come out as I need to gain confidence. That's not even how we phrase it in our heads. A lot of times it's, well, I don't know this, so I need to take a class on marketing. I don't know this, then I need to take a class on this. I don't know this, I need to be more educated. So I need to, watch more videos, watch more YouTube videos on this AI thing for me to feel more confident. Or I need to go back to school and get the MBA for me to start a business. Like, we can lie to ourselves about all the things that are not really prerequisites. They're not required for you to start. Is it bad to get, to go and get more education or something? No, it's not. But when that becomes the excuse that we have so that we can be more confident because we have more diplomas or university degrees in our back pockets, it keeps us stuck. We don't do anything because we're waiting for the right time when I've achieved such and such for me to go after this thing. Yet there are many people who start businesses with like high school education. There are many people who start stuff with like nothing. like no prior education on that thing. But in that doing is when they actually get the confidence, they get the mastery, because they're learning. So what does courage actually looks like? What does it look like? Right? Courage. Did I just say college? College. Oh, okay. Courage. And I think, yeah, I think I've been talking about college so much with my daughter that it's coming in my head. But courage is not loud, right? Because it's not you climbing Mount Everest. That takes courage, yes. It's not you doing the big thing. A lot of times, courage is just quiet and it's ordinary and it's repetitive. It is the day in, day out, right? It's for me, it's getting up and be like, yeah, I need to make a video. I need to post a video today. And sitting on here at my kitchen table and talking to you guys. That is courage, because trust me, it's not easy. It's like, you're talking and you don't even know. I'm talking to a woman out there who is in my, in this second chapter, but I don't know who's going to look at it and comment and say what they have to say. So courage looks like showing up every day. It's the small showing up daily for something, right? We, as women, when we show up for our family, for our kids, when you show up every day and make a meal for your kids, even when you're not feeling well, when you show up and you attend to their school stuff, to their needs, that itself is also a form of courage, because courage is not always related to you doing the big thing that people notice. It's not also related to you doing the big thing that gives you a lot of money, because I think we put a lot of emphasis on those big things that people do and how much money they made or how much celebrity they become or blah blah blah. But that is not necessarily courage. So courage is you at your age of 40s, 50s, 60, doing something, failing and starting over again. That takes courage. And that is what courage is. That's what it looks like. It's like, you're falling. Remember if you have kids, when your kids were young, and they're learning to walk, right? How many times do they fall? And you just sit there and be like, oh, you're a failure because you fell. You fell and you're a failure. They try to get up and you encourage them to get up, right? Because they fall 10 times in trying to walk like 5 feet doesn't mean you're not 5 feet, but maybe the length of your kitchen. It doesn't mean they're a failure. And the courage it takes for that little one to stand up and be like, I'm going to try again. Even though I've fallen so many times and sometimes hurts, they keep trying. And that's what courage is for you and I, even now, where we are in our lives, is us getting up when you've been beaten down with life, when things have not gone your way, when you've been betrayed, when you name it, that people do to women and to people a lot of times. It's the courage to get up. Is that small steps that you take. It's the courage to say, I'm not going to take this anymore. That's what courage looks like. It's the courage to say, I'm not going to allow this. I'm not going to be treated this way anymore. And that is what courage is. It's not loud. A lot of times it's not loud. It's not dramatic. It is being imperfect over and over again and trying again. So maybe you are in that place where you're like, I've tried this business. I've tried this way. I've tried that online. I've tried this and tried that, and I failed. And I'm just saying to you right now, the courage is you getting up and trying again. You might have to tweak some things. You might have to change your strategy a little bit, but the courage is in the getting up. And what happens with courage too? The next thing that I want to talk about is the self-trust, the importance of self-trust. This, I think, is the major thing for women that really destroys us. you're in a bad relationship, it makes you feel unworthy. Your self-trust is eroded. You feel like you cannot do anything. Or maybe, or you've been, most of your life you decided to be home and take care of your kids. And of course, the society looks at that and thinks, well, that's nothing. You're not making money. And people look down on, and somehow you as a stay-at-home mom, you feel like you have no self-trust because you've never gone out there and made money, because you have just done the work of raising kids, which I think honestly you need to be paid over 200,000 a year for it. You've done this thing that doesn't look like it's valuable to anyone, though it's such a, okay, I'm going to digress here. But I think it's crazy that the society looks at women who are staying home to take care of their kids as if they're doing nothing, when the society needs those kids to grow up and be good citizens, to then work so that the economy works. Like, if anyone is playing a very important role in the society as a whole, it is the mother. The women who are raising children, who are trying to raise their kids to be good citizens, to be hardworking, to be honest. You can tell I get annoyed with people who like, downplay the fact that somebody is home with their kids, as if you creating a business that is, the $10 million business a year, whatever thing that you're doing. And I'm a business person, so I understand. But you have people who look down at women who have stayed home, who have made that choice, which is a sacrifice too, a big sacrifice, to be home and raise their kids, as if that's nothing. I'm like, for there to be a society for the people to grow up and work, is because somebody had to take the time to raise those kids right. So anyway, again, that was me digressing there. But I just realized, talking to some of my friends who have been stay-at-home moms all their lives, is that they just lack confidence. Or, you ask them, people ask them, which I try to avoid asking people what they do, because what has that got to do with anything in life? But people ask, what do you do? And they're like, oh, I'm just a housewife. I'm just a stay-at-home mom. Just, right? Meaning they don't value themselves, or they've been told they're not valuable. So they now just treat themselves like they're worthless, like there's nothing they're contributing to the society. Yet they're really contributing a lot more than any of the people out there having the businesses, going to work and all that. Anyway, we'll leave it there. But I just wanted to give you an example of the eroding of self-trust that happens in women, right? You're in bad relationships. You are made to feel like you're worthless because you're not contributing financially in what people call money things in the society, because you're a stay-at-home mom. Your self-confidence is eroded because maybe you're in a workplace where women are not valued, or you're not promoted, or your ideas are not promoted, or they're looked down on. Like, there's a lot of what I call microaggression that happens in the workplaces, and I worked in corporate, so I know. But there's a lot of stuff that women have to go through when they're working that does erode your self-trust, right? Or you go through, your body changes, you gain weight, you have children, your body doesn't look like it used to. And again, you are not maybe as attractive as you used to be. And those are things that kind of erode your self-trust. We're just talking about things that really affect women that I think a lot of times they're not discussed because they're not so popular and nobody wants to talk about them. So there are all these ways that you can lose your self-trust. You've made maybe bad financial decisions in your life that have caused catastrophic things. Maybe you did start the business and things didn't go as you planned and the business failed. All those things. There are a lot of things that can just erode your self-trust as a woman, especially. And I'm talking like a woman because I've gone through some of these things. So I know what I'm talking about. And if you're a woman out there, you know what I'm talking about. So how do we build that self-trust, especially right now in our 40s, in our 30s, 50s and 60s, in the second chapter of life, which I think is a major thing for us in this stage of life is to be able to trust yourself that, you know what, I can start this and I can finish it. I can go after my dream and I can achieve the dream. I can do all the things that I put on the shelf and I can really pursue this and create something out of my life. How do we rebuild the self-trust? Because courage comes from that, from having rebuilt your self-trust to where you trust yourself that your opinion matters. That's another thing I think I found in women as well, just even in business, dealing with them in coaching and stuff, is that they don't even trust their own opinion. They don't trust their own decisions. They don't trust that they can manage money. They don't, there's like a lot of, just a lot of like lack of self-trust, lack of self-confidence in ourselves because of what we've gone through. So how do we rebuild that? Because that is one of the pillars of having the courage, right? Of us developing our courage is that, again, it doesn't have to start big. It's simply in the day-to-day small things. And one of the major things that you do to help yourself really build your self-trust is to follow through on your promises, the promises you make to yourself. I've said this to women that I was coaching, like, people don't realize that when you make a promise to yourself and you break that promise, it is actually devastating results more than you promising someone and not following through. That is bad. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying we don't realize that when we make promises to ourselves and we don't follow through, we are teaching and training our minds, ourselves, that we are not a follow through person. We cannot be trusted. Right? So you destroy your own self-trust when you don't follow through on the things, especially to do with yourself, even on the things to do with others, but more importantly, on the things that you do to yourself. So if you say, I'm going to work out or I'm going to do this, and then you turn around and you don't do it once, twice, 3 times, and you keep doing this cycle of, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm setting this goal, and then you don't follow through. What you're telling yourself in your mind is that you are not to be trusted. So it then shows up in how you do decision making and how you doubt yourself when you do certain things, because you have trained yourself over the years that you can't be trusted. Your brain is like, I can't trust you. You don't follow through, right? So we want to keep the promises we make to ourselves. We want to try and keep those as much as we can to help us grow in that trust. As you can see, I'm very passionate about women gaining their own confidence and doing things in life, because I have seen this with friends, I've seen this with people I've coached, and it's just there. It is there. And I've gone through some of this myself. So I know what it's like to have your life shattered and have to start over and losing the confidence, and to have the changes in your body when after you have kids, and think that maybe you're not so as attractive as you used to be, and to find yourself comparing yourself with other people who are on screen who are all made up and whatever, all kind of stuff that we'll go through as women. So you want to develop that muscle of self-trust, self-confidence. The more you show up for yourself, the less you're going to actually need validation, is external validation. I'm doing this YouTube thing because I also want to see, can I show up for myself? I made this commitment. Can I actually follow through and do these videos at least for the next 100 days and then maybe for the year? I don't know, but I'm doing this because I'm trying to grow a muscle in myself of consistency in something that I was not even sure of, that I didn't think I had courage to do. But here I am doing it. So what else happens with our courage, right? Is that a lot of times we have fear. So there's an issue of self-trust. There's also an issue of fear. And we have these feelings of fear that sometimes stop us, when really fear is more of a physical reaction. It's more for information. We have fear when we're afraid of failure, right? We have fear when we're afraid of judgment from people. What are they going to say about me? And all these things, they are they're true, right? We experience the fear. But if we look at fear as, okay, this is information, it's telling you something. It's not telling you that you shouldn't do something. And sometimes it is, right? There is fear of warning of, no, don't go there. That is not, you get that intuition of like, that is not, something doesn't feel right. But you tend to know when that is the kind of thing, like that kind of fear of, that is, like a warning more than a fear of like, oh, judge, people are going to judge me, people, what are they going to say, all the stuff that we go through. But and really, we are not here to try to eliminate fear, because if you're waiting to eliminate the fear, whatever you're afraid of, you never do anything, right? Maybe you're afraid of being on YouTube or whatever social media you want to be for your business, for your life, whatever you're trying to do. Because it seems like, everybody needs to do social media now. For really, there's no business that doesn't have any social media. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to be forced to do this, right? So anyway, so maybe you do have that fear. And it doesn't mean that you don't do something just because you're afraid. You just have to do it scared. Just do it. You can acknowledge that you're afraid and just get up and do it with the fear inside of you, and just do it. So it is uncomfortable, right? The fear brings that discomfort, the fear of judgment. But what happens when you have the courage to move past through what you're feeling, is that you start to grow that muscle of, yeah, I actually don't care what people think. You know why you're doing what you're doing. Do they pay your bills? No. Are they part of your family? No. Do their opinion really matter? Even the people who may put comments in your social media stuff, who cares what they think? And of course, if you don't like the comments, you can just delete. Nobody says you have to read them. That is the wonder of technology, right? So you don't, when you start to think of like, why do people's opinion matter, especially at this age? Like, I don't care. I don't care somebody's opinion who doesn't know me, doesn't know what I've been through, doesn't know my life, or why I'm doing what I'm doing. What is their opinion matter? And so I love this saying, because I say, this is a saying I talk to my kids about why you shouldn't care about people's opinions. And I'm going to just say this because we're talking about fear of people's judgment. It's like, I don't think that the ego that is up there, in high up in the mountain, is flying around thinking, I wonder what the snake thinks of me. Do you? I think this is so funny. But this is kind of my thinking. Like, I am the ego, and whoever is saying stuff that is, or judging me or whatever they're doing, is the snake on the ground. Why should I care what they think? Why should you care? Why if you're an ego, why do you think it's going around thinking, oh my gosh, let me get down there and see what the snake thinks about me? The snake is crawling on the ground. Who cares what it thinks? Right? The ego is up there flying and seeing the world and doing all the crazy spins and stuff. Who cares what the thing that is crawling on the ground thinks? So if you just start to look at your life with like, oh, why do I care about that person's opinion in my life? What does it do to me? What does it matter? Nothing. It really like helps you get over this fear of people and their opinions and stuff, and just makes you like, you know what, I'm going to do what I believe is right for me, what I believe God sent me here to do. I'm a Christian, so that matters to me. Really, the opinion that matters is what God says. Everybody else's opinion is kind of secondary, if at all applicable in my life. But that's what actually matters, is what God thinks of me. And that's why I try to please and live my life in accordance to what He wants. Everybody else, no, doesn't really matter. So you want to get to that place where people's judgments of you, their opinion of you, they are really nothing. And I'm not saying this is something that we all have to grow into, but at this stage of our lives, I'll be 50 in about a year. So I don't care. I've lived all this long. And at one time, I guess people's opinions mattered, but not anymore. No, they don't. They haven't actually mattered since I turned 40. So I just think this is the age that you can kind of get rid of all that stuff and kind of live your life the way you feel like is the right thing for you to do. All right. So what counts in terms of courage? And I talked about that courage is not dramatic all the time. Actually, rarely is it ever dramatic. Um, but the quiet courage counts. It counts. You don't need witnesses. You know, you don't need witnesses that you're doing this. When I set up this thing and I'm talking to you, I don't have witness. Actually, I'm making sure that my kids are at school, right? Or they're not home, so I can record without people running all over the kitchen. Um, you know, it's the quiet courage we get to practice actually matters. You know, sometimes the bravest decisions you make, the decision to walk away from that relationship or friendship or whatever, from that job, from that business, it happens in private. It happens in your bedroom. It happens by yourself. A lot of the bravest things that we decide in life are very private and they're done in private. You changing your mind about something, which is a very powerful thing to change your mind. Changing your mind and setting boundaries and walking away is actually courageous. Sometimes that is the most courageous thing that you can do, is to walk away from something. And you don't need witnesses. You don't need anyone cheering you on, saying, yeah, 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 go, go, go. No, we don't. It's the small unseen acts of bravery that builds up your courage, that transforms you. It's saying, I am done with this. Or saying, this season is over, things are changing. That is sometimes the most courageous thing that we get to do. Something else we get to do is to, you know, in the process of this courage thing that we are seeking, is we have to let go of the external validation. We talk about wanting to, this need to please other people. Approvals are not required for you to start. You don't need anyone's permission to do what you want to do. If you want to change the career, if you want to change the business, if you want to let go of the business, if you want to change the relationships, you really don't need anyone's permission. I would say the only permission that you need, and that's not anyone, is God. But that's because of my values and my beliefs, right? For me, I have to check with my creator before I make decisions on certain things. Really, on everything I do, I try to just consult him. But I don't need anyone else's permission. I don't need them to feel comfortable with my decision. I don't need them to feel okay with my decision. I don't need them to feel happy with my decision. So people's approval and confirmations are not required. I'm not seeking, you and I at this age are not seeking permission from anybody. So you can just go ahead and let go of what needs to be let go, move into what you need to move into what you need to move into. You can pivot the career, you can change the career, you can walk away from the career, you can, whatever it is. You don't need somebody else to give you permission. You're old enough to do that without permission. So we let go of the external, for the need of external validation. And we also choose ourselves. And I've done, I think, a video on choosing ourselves and what that actually looks like, which is uncomfortable. And you can check out the video in my playlist, or I'll link it below. But choosing yourself is uncomfortable. It feels selfish. It's messy. It is messy. It is not a clean cut thing that you can be like, oh yeah, I just did this today, and it's a process, and it's long, and it's painful. It's all the things. So you are, getting to decide your dreams, your time, your energy, that those things matter to you now in this stage of life more than, maybe before people used to take you for granted, but you're choosing yourself. That is the thing about courage. That is part of the courage. The things that we do, the courageous things that we do, is to choose ourselves. And That is, I think, when the real change starts to happen, right? A lot of people's opinions, you have let them fall away, and you are deciding how you want to build your life now and how you want to live. Something else you're allowed to do in this journey of courage and our transitions and our second acts is to, you're allowed to begin again. You're allowed to begin again and again and again. Like the thing I love about God is that he says his mercies are new every morning. Like every morning, you have a chance to start over. Like, isn't that cool? Like God, you confess your sins and you have a chance to start over. Wherever you are, no matter what you've done, you can always start over. And not to say, do something then start over. No, I'm just saying, you might be like, oh my gosh, I feel like this is my third or fourth beginning of something. And for some of us, yeah, we are in that stage where we have had to start over several times. Not in the same thing, but it's just in different areas of life. So you are allowed to start over as many times as you need. And your previous failures, they don't disqualify you. You can start over today, you can start over next year, you can start over. You are allowed to start over. And repetition is not failure. It's really like refining. It's refinement, and it's okay. And you're not crazy because you're in repetition of things. You're starting over different things, or starting over the same thing and try to do it better. You're kind of refining something. And really mastery of anything is repetition. You're not going to learn a language if you're not repeating it. You're not going to learn anything if you're not doing it over and over again. So we want to take repetition as an art of mastery, of mastering something. And it's okay. And it's okay. So if you've tried to build a business, failed, tried again, failed, it doesn't mean you stop. Maybe you need to tweak again the strategy of what the business will look like, but it doesn't mean you have to stop. It just means you keep trying until you get it right. You get the help that you need, the support that you need, and keep trying and move forward. And the courage is not, you don't need courage to start. I think I mentioned this before. You gain the courage by starting, by appearing on screen, by uploading that video, by starting that business again, by working through the stuff in your life again. You start, you just start, and you continue. And in that continuing process of doing something, you gain the courage, you gain the confidence of self-trust. You stop caring what people think. All the muscle starts to develop, but it actually starts with starting. You start, and the courage will meet you there. And you look back in the, after you've done something for so many times, you're like, oh yeah, I can do that. You're now very confident you can do that because you actually started. So it does start with starting. The courage starts when you start. When you say, I'm going to do this, and you pick up whatever and you do it. That's when courage starts. We're not waiting for courage to come, then starts. No, we are going to push through the fear, push through the self-doubt, push through the need for validation from people, push through all the things that obstacles that come our way emotionally, physically, mentally, whichever, and starts. And this is how you become the courageous woman who does the difficult things. And I think every woman has that in them. We are capable. We have so much capability of doing things that are hard because we are strong. We are very strong. You are strong. And my thing to you right now, what I'm saying is go ahead and start that thing, that hobby, the travel, whatever it is that you've been putting on the back burner and waiting for the right time and waiting for the courage. Go ahead and do it now. Go ahead and start small if you have to, but go ahead and start. So if you haven't done so, please subscribe. Again, my name is Janet, And this is the Second Act Collective. And I look forward to seeing you again. Go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.